Okay, so the last tutorial was for the Tunisian simple stitch. This one is for the knit stitch, so you're really kicking it up a notch, and this time it's actually going to look fairly like knitting. It's going to be a lot thicker because you have basically 4 threads running through each stitch because you're going across and then you're going back. So it's going to be thicker, it's going to be warmer, but it's going to look just like knit. Now, we're going to go ahead and count off our 10 chains to start off with. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. And you'll notice that with Tunisian, just like with knitting, there's going to be some curl. That will stop once you block it, but it'll take blocking to finish it. Now, you're going to pull up your stitches and leave them on the hook. Same as before, you're always going to do this with Tunisian. That's how it works. You go back and forth like a typewriter. The first row, your foundation row, is always going to be simple stitch. So it's going to be a really quick refresher on the simple stitch, and then we'll work the knitted stitch off of it. Every project you do, everything in Tunisian crochet, we will always do a row of simple stitch, and then whatever it is, whatever the pattern calls for after that. So 2, 4, 6, 8, 10. Alright, and let's go back across the same as before. 1 stitch, and then 2 across. All the way back to the beginning. It's basically like you're setting up a whole bunch of single crochets, and then you're going back and completing them all at once. Alright, there is your row of Tunisian simple stitch, and now for the knit. Now instead of going under the bar like we did for simple stitch, we're going to go under this and in between. So see how that there's a stitch like that, and there's the 2 for that. You're going to go under and in between and pull it up. You're not going to see a whole lot of difference this first row because this is your setup row. But you're going to do the same thing across for each stitch. Under and in between. And it's going to leave a little ridge along the back. That'll go away as you complete more rows. But it will look kind of, or feel a little different until you get used to the. Okay? And under and in between. And just like with the simple stitch, that last stitch you're going to leave the 2. You're always going to finish each row the same stitch. Okay, so count off 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and you're going to back up the same way. 1, oops, and then 2 across. Back to the beginning. Now, it kind of looks like the simple stitch again, but as you add more rows, it's going to look more and more like knit. So, same thing as before, under and in between, under and in between, all the way back across. And you'll want to keep count as you go across until you get used to it and make sure that you're hitting all of them. If you start with 10, you want to have 10 each row unless the pattern calls for an increase or decrease, and that's another tutorial. Alright, so and the last stitch always the same, under the 2. Okay, and 1, 2 all the way across. And you'll get used to the tension, just like with regular crochet, how it feels, the pull of it. How tight or how loose you hold the yarn will depend on what size hook you use with what yarn. The same as with regular crochet. Now see? Now we're starting to get somewhere. Now it looks like knit. Okay. And back across. We're going to do one more row and then we're going to bind off. But this is just for demonstration purposes. Under and in between. Making sure you have your 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 9, and 10. Always ending the row the same way. You see how it kind of curls a little bit? Once you block it, that'll stop. But it's a hazard of knitting too. But see how it looks just like knitted fabric, and it always looks the same on the back. You're always going to have those rows of garter stitch, just like on any knitted project. Alright, and 1 and 2 all the way across. Now with the knit, a lot of projects don't tell you to bind off, and you don't have to because it lays differently than the simple stitch. You're not left with that large gap, so you can just snip here, pull a string, snip, finish your stitch, and pull it through. And there you have it. Tunisian knit stitch.